Come here, lad.
What are you doing on my property?
Come to claim back what's rightfully mine, sir. That thieving young rascal made off with some horseshoes and a bag of nails from my smithy.
Where is your proof?
The proof is I'll find him there. Now, I don't want to be forced to call the police.
These people are guests of mine, but you are trespassing, Mr. Thorne.
I'm not frightened of you, Doctor.
Get off my land!
Please come back soon.
My dear, there is nothing whatever to worry about. We shall be married in a few weeks. I'm just on my way back to London. Goodbye, sir. And thank you for a most pleasant weekend. I mean to improve my game of chess before my next visit.
Yes, I see. You weren't an unworthy opponent.
Thank you, sir.
I'm just seeing Percy down to the gates, Father.
Here.
Drive on and wait for me by the gate, would you?
Walk on.
The fellow is trespassing. He had a duck-in, and that is all.
Father, I cannot believe that Thorne would deliberately...
Damn it, woman! Are you part of the conspiracy against me, too?
No, Father. I live here.
But not for much longer, eh? Once you marry that fellow Armitage. Yes, what is it?
Father, what has happened to my room?
The builder's found a fault in the structure. Better sleep in your sister's room till they've finished working on it.
Julia's room. I can't sleep in there.
And why not, pray?
I can't.
What is the matter? It's a perfectly good room. I've instructed the housekeeper to prepare it for you. Now run along your baggage. Good night. Hello there, young beauty. Good night. Good night, baby.
I'm very sorry, Watson. But it seems to be the common lot this morning.
What?
Mrs. Hudson has been roused. She retorted on me and I on you.
But it's only 7:15. What is it, a fire?
No. A client.
This will take a moment to draw, sir.
But only a moment. Mrs. Hudson is a mistress of the art of firelighting. This is my intimate friend and associate, Dr. Watson, before whom you may speak as freely as before myself.
How do you do?
Mrs. Hudson, do you think you could bring this young lady a hot cup of coffee? For I observe you are shivering.
It is not cold which makes me shiver.
What then?
It is fear, Mr. Holmes. It is terror.
No, you must not fear. We shall set matters right, have no doubt. You have come by train, I see, this morning.
You know me, then?
No, but I observe the second half of a return ticket in the palm of your left glove. You started early, but you had a drive in a dog cart along heavy roads before you reached the station. But there's no mystery, my dear lady. The left arm of your jacket is spattered with mud in no less than 7 places. The marks are fresh. There is no vehicle, save a dog cart, which throws up mud in that particular way. And then only when you sit on the left-hand side of the driver.
You are perfectly correct. Sir, I can stand the strain no longer. I shall go mad if it continues. I have heard of you from Mrs. Farintosh, whom you helped in the hour of her sore need.
Farintosh.
My dear Helen, it is difficult for me to advise you since you present so few facts, but I know you to be a sensible girl not prone to hysterics. As one of your poor dear mother's oldest friends, I can only suggest that if your fears persist, you should contact Mr. Sherlock Holmes at 221B, Baker Street.
Farintosh, oh yes, I do remember the case. It concerned an opal tiara. I think it was before your time, Watson. Thank you, Mrs. Hudson.
Sir, do you not think you could help me too? At present it is out of my power to reward you, but in a few weeks I shall be married with control of my own income.
I shall be happy to devote the same care to your case as to that of your friend. As for reward, my profession is its own reward. But you are at liberty to defray whatever expenses I may be put to at the time which suits you best. And now, I beg you, lay everything before us which may help us form an opinion upon this matter.
My name is Helen Stoner. I live with my stepfather, Dr. Grimsby Roylott, who is the last survivor of one of the oldest Saxon families in England.
The Roylotts of Stoke Moran, the name is familiar to me.
He is a doctor by profession, a skilled one. For some years he had a large and flourishing practice in India, in Calcutta.
Ah.
Dr. Watson has also practiced medicine in India.
Yes. Attached to the 5th Northumberland Fusiliers. And pray continue, Miss Stoner.
In Calcutta, he married my mother. She was the young widow of Major General Stoner of the Bengal Artillery. I was only 2 at the time of Mother's remarriage, and my sister, Julia, was 5 years older. Our mother had a considerable sum of money, not less than 1,000 a year, and this she bequeathed to Dr. Roylott entirely while we resided with him.
Forgive me, your mother has passed on?
Shortly after our return to England, she was killed in a railway accident near Crewe. My stepfather then abandoned his attempts to establish himself in practice in London and took us to live in his ancestral home at Stoke Moran.
But the money your mother left you was enough for all your wants, so that was no obstacle to your happiness.
A terrible change came over my stepfather. Instead of making friends and exchanging visits with our neighbours, who at first were overjoyed to see a Roylott back in the family seat, he shut himself up in the house and indulged in ferocious quarrels. At times it was, and still is, hard to keep him out of the police courts. He's become the terror of the village.
Does he permit any visitors?
None, save my fiancée and some wandering gypsies.
Gypsies?
Vagabonds, whom he has given leave to encamp on his land. Sometimes he goes away with them for days at a time. You can imagine from what I'm saying that my poor sister Julia and I had no great pleasure in our lives. No servant would stay long, so we did all the work of the house. She was but 30 when I lost her. But already her hair had begun to whiten, even as mine has.
Your sister's dead?
Just 2 years ago. It is of that I wish to talk to you.
Oh, yes, yes!
Oh, no.
Watch this, watch!
Living the life we did, we were little likely to see anyone of our own age and position. But we were occasionally allowed short visits. 2 years ago, Julia met a half-pay major of Marines to whom she became engaged.
Your stepfather approved of the match?
He raised no objection at all. But a fortnight before the wedding, the terrible event occurred which deprived me of my only companion.
Pray, be precise as to details.
It is easy. Every event of that night is seared into my memory. It was late, about 11. Julia had come into my room.
Smoking those awful cigars again.
Perhaps you should have this room until the wedding.
Oh, Helen. Oh, I feel so happy. And yet wretched that I'm leaving you here alone.
My turn will come.
I shall miss you.
You won't. I'll come and stay. Besides, your major has promised to find me a brother officer of equal rank and infinitely better looking. Darling, what is the matter?
Helen, have you ever heard anyone whistle in the dead of night? I suppose you couldn't possibly whistle yourself in your sleep.
Certainly not. Why?
The last few nights, always about 3 in the morning, I've been woken by a low, clear whistle. I can't tell where it's coming from. I thought you might have heard it.
I sleep more heavily than you. It was probably those wretched gypsies.
Well, never mind.
Was it your custom always to lock yourself in at night?
Always. My stepfather has a passion for Indian animals. A leopard and a baboon wander freely over the grounds. Julia and I had no feelings of security unless our doors and windows were locked. I couldn't sleep. I had a vague feeling of misfortune. Julia!
Please help me.
Speckled band.
I can't bother. No, no, leave me here, Julia.
Go back to your room, child. I'll deal with this.
I am sorry, gentlemen. My sister and I were very close.
Yes, indeed. What an awful experience. And you've no idea what might have caused...
This whistle and a metallic sound, you can swear to it?
It was my strong impression. I may possibly have been deceived.
Was your sister dressed?
No, she was in her nightdress. On the floor there was a candle and the charred stump of a match.
Which means something must have woken her up, and she struck a light to see what the matter was.
What conclusions did the coroner come to?
He investigated the case with great care, but he was unable to find any satisfactory cause of death.
And your evidence would have shown that the door was fastened on the inner side, the windows blocked by shutters, secured every night. It is certain, therefore, that your sister was alone when she met her end.
Yes. Besides, there were no marks of violence upon her.
What about poison?
The doctors examined her for it without success.
What do you think this unfortunate lady died of, then?
It's my belief that she died of pure fear and nervous shock. Though what it was which frightened her, I cannot imagine.
What do you gather from the allusion to a band, a speckled band?
Delirium.
Or some band of people. The gypsies at the plantation, the spotted handkerchiefs they wear around their necks.
These are very deep waters. What happened after your sister's death?
My life was lonelier than ever. Until a month ago, when a dear friend of mine, whom I've known for many years, did me the honor to ask for my hand in marriage. His name is Mr. Percy Armitage.
And you are to be married within a few weeks. So what prompted you to come here when your life seemed set so fair?
Yesterday, some repairs were started and my bedroom wall was pierced, so that last night I was forced to move into the chamber in which Julia died, to sleep in the very bed in which she slept. Imagine my terror when I was awoken by the same low whistle which had been the herald of her own death.
You lit a lamp.
Yes, but nothing was to be seen. I was too shaken to sleep. I dressed and slipped out of the house. I got a dog cart at the Crown Inn and came to London with the one object of asking your advice.
You did wisely. But have you told me all?
Yes.
You have not, Miss Stoner. You are shielding your stepfather.
He is a hard man, but he's still the only father I have known.
I'd say it was time for some breakfast.
There are 1,000 details I desire to know before I decide on a course of action. If we were to come to Stoke Moran today, could we see over these rooms without the knowledge of your stepfather?
As it happens, he spoke of coming to town today on some business.
And the workmen?
I have seen none. We have a woman who comes to clean from the village, but only in the morning. There should be nothing to disturb you.
Excellent, Watson. You're not averse to this trip.
By no means.
Then we will be with you in the early afternoon.
I shall be there for your arrival.
You'll stay for some breakfast, surely.
Thank you, no. My heart is lightened already.
Ah, Mrs. Hudson. Thank you. But when you combine the ideas of whistles at night, the presence of a band of gypsies on intimate terms with the doctor, the dying allusion to a speckled band, well, there's good ground to believe that the mystery may be cleared along those lines.
Which one of you is Holmes?
My name, sir. But you have the advantage of me.
I'm Dr. Grimsby Roylott of Stoke Moran.
Indeed, Doctor. Please, take a seat.
I shall do nothing of the kind. I know that my stepdaughter has been here this morning. What has she been saying to you?
It is a little cold for the time of year.
What has she been saying to you?
But I have heard that the crops promise well.
Ah, you put me off, do you? You scoundrel, sir. I've heard of you before. You're Holmes the meddler, Holmes the busybody, Holmes the Scotland Yard Jack in office.
Your conversation really is most entertaining. If you would close the door on your way out, as there is a decided draft.
I will go when I've had my say. And don't you dare to interfere in my affairs. I know that Miss Stoner has been here. I am a dangerous man to fall foul of.
Thank you, Mrs. Hudson. Just another client. What a very